My name's Matt Stanley. I specialise in the placement of iTrent and ResourceLink professionals throughout the UK in both public and private sectors, and that's both permanent and contract recruitment. So prior to COVID, the market was, there was definitely both permanent and contract opportunities out there, but it was definitely more kind of project focus. It heavily relied upon interim consultants. There was talks, obviously, again, of the permanent side of things still moving forwards and fixed term contract things still moving forwards, but the likelihood was that organisations and companies could still potentially look down the route of an interim consultant if necessary, which seems to have changed a little bit over these last couple of weeks, months, but it has been a little bit different, which is kind of also related to budgetary conversations. Prior to COVID, it was a little bit clearer to have these conversations with clients. The more forecasting conversations that we had about potential work and things that were moving forwards was ultimately a little bit easier. Whereas now, I understand they've got to sympathise with businesses during the current climate that these conversations aren't going to be easy. The talks with finance directors to get things signed off around projects, etc., aren't going to be easiest conversations in the world. So, it has changed a little bit since then. Yeah, so since back then and now, there's been an abundance of permanent fixed term opportunities. We've seen these kind of requirements rise over these last couple of weeks and months or so. Both short and long term. So there's been requirements for obviously your permanent roles, and the more fixed term side of things have been anything from 3 to 12 to 18 months long. So they've really kind of varied. The one thing that is very different is clients have more defined timescales. There's been conversations about when they need people to start. I appreciate that urgencies have risen since everything COVID-19 happened. There's been a change in companies' circumstances, there's been redundancies, there's been gaps in their business which they need to fill quite quickly, albeit those requirements sometimes have changed a little bit, whether previously they would have been able to consider contracts and talk about getting signed off budgets for that. Now it looks like they are looking to either save money by going down a fixed term route or having to reevaluate their situation to be able to actually bring somebody in to fill that gap. One thing that has changed quite a lot is the ease of interviews. A lot of interviews or companies that have previously stuck to like 2-3 stage interview processes have been able to narrow these down and almost kill two birds with one stone with all these video calls and everything that's been happening recently. I appreciate that that's not new technology at the moment, but it seems like a lot of companies seem to have adopted that way of interviewing and taking people on board, which again kills two birds with one stone. It's a case of them seeing them face to face, hearing what they're saying, and ultimately getting their reaction from that as well. So it's brought those 3 two-stage processes down to almost one in some businesses, because obviously we can't see people face to face, we can't go and meet people, and along with that, it's also opened up a lot of doors for candidate talent pools. A lot of businesses who have previously needed people on site 5 days a week, 4 days a week, have now been open to allowing some flexibility, allowing some remote working, and widening their talent pool and being able to view candidates from all over the UK. I appreciate that's not for every business and it hasn't affected everyone, but it's nice to see that it has affected quite a few people positively, which ultimately has ended in us making placements and having that flexibility, which location is quite a lot of the time a big stumbling block. Having that is something we can work with now and can potentially work on to allow these candidates to be open and available and working with them full time still, but working from home has definitely helped, and it's definitely changed things in a positive way. Okay, so the 3 main takeaways from all things COVID. The positive takeaways that I've taken from it so far. There's 3. The first one mainly being building of relationships with both clients and candidates for that matter. it's almost been like a pull together through this tough time. There's been difficult conversations around people being made redundant, companies having to stop their projects, put things on hold, which ultimately sets them back in years in terms of their timescales. So it's having that ability to have been able to spend the time over these lockdown weeks, months, to speak to people, talk to people about the projects, understand them in more detail, understand their requirements, along with understanding people's personal situations in a lot more detail. It's been good to be able to understand that and have that time out whereby we can have these conversations. And previously, things with everything happening in the marketplace and everything moving forward, you can get a little bit lost and shy away from those kind of conversations. So it's been nice to be able to actually speak to people and understand it from a more personal perspective. Secondly, again, kind of linking onto that, allowing the market to confide their worries almost around like redundancies, project delays, and using that to ultimately understand people's situations, understand them more as people, as a person, rather than just a requirement as to what they're looking for, or just their expectation for work. You really get to know somebody in much more detail. And again, the working from home, to touch on what I said earlier, the working from home aspect it's going to change a lot of people's situations, a lot of people's outlook on their job hunt, a lot of companies' outlook on the candidates that they hire. So ultimately, I think that's definitely one of the biggest outcomes, one of the biggest positives, again, along with the interview stages and things being narrowed down and ultimately speeded up from quite a few different perspectives. But yeah, the working from home will be a big one. So the next 6 months, there's definitely a strong foundation for contract and project work to be coming off. The conversations that I've had over the last couple of weeks and months over lockdown has really highlighted the amount of work that's actually out there. It's just a case of having the conversations and how lockdown is going to affect these conversations as well over these next couple of weeks. If things keep moving forwards as they are and things keep progressing with lockdown and we do eventually come to terms with how we can work it and getting the sign off for the budgets, then over these next 3 to 4 months there's going to be abundance of contract and project work from what I've gathered so far. I think on the permanent side, that's just going to go from strength to strength. There's been a lot of talks and a lot of recruitment around this over the last couple of weeks and months. Us as a business, the HRIS space in the iTrent and ResourceLink market have made 12 placements over the last month. So it's been absolutely huge. These again falling under, there is contracting roles out there, but these falling under more of the permanent and permanent and fixed term space. In terms of talks around projects and pipeline and what's going to be happening, I mean, off the top of my head, there's 5-6 projects that should be coming to light. Again, lockdown dependent. If things keep moving forwards as they are and things keep slowly getting to a new normal whereby businesses can understand how they can work through this and how they can potentially keep their project ticking over and ultimately their finances get signed off, then there will be plenty of work out there from, again, the conversations that have been had over these last couple of weeks. And I hope to see over the next 6 months just something off the back of the lockdown period. Obviously, the conversations that we've had and the relationships that have been built with both clients, candidates, I hope to keep that maintained. I'd like to see even more candidates, clients added to the space, and I think with that being said, and the way that it's happened, I think that'll definitely be happening over these next couple of weeks. And it's been, as I say, it's been nice to catch up with everybody, understand everyone's requirements, and really define that when speaking to them on more of a personal level. So over the next 6 months or so, hopefully that really does continue, and I see off the back of that only stronger relationships and better conversations with regards to new projects and things that are going to be coming up. So yeah.